Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of The County Seat. I'm your host, Chad Booth. Associations of government. Is it a regional government? Is it a private agency? What is it that they are? What is it that they do? That is the topic of our program today on The County Seat. There are several of them across the state, and we are looking at the one with the most counties in it today, the Six County AOG, Association of Government. We will be talking with some of the program directors, finding out what they do. But let's get an overview of the scope of what an association of government is and what it does. And the best way to do that is to see them at work out on the ground.
Right now what we're looking at, you saw some of those trees that were marked blue. They're scheduled for harvest. You don't see any blue marks on these trees here. They're just as dead. And we'd like to do something with them, but we can't because they're in an inventory roadless area.
It's one thing to talk about community issues at a county meeting. It's another thing entirely to go out and see it firsthand. 12 years ago, county officials were trying to figure out how to educate state and federal representatives about issues that affect rural communities. That question evolved into ideas that eventually led to today's tour in Wayne County.
It was an event that is hopefully going to help our congressional members, our congressional staff, our state agency folks better understand what our issues and concerns.
The people that you represent, you're able to take back their viewpoint. The reason people think Utah is such a great place is because of our rural areas, but sometimes that can get lost in the shuffle both in Salt Lake City and Washington, D.C.
It's one thing for them as elected officials to travel to Washington, D.C. and sit in their office and talk about issues. But this is a way for those that are in Washington, D.C. as well as the state offices to be able to get out on the ground and be able to see it in person and experience it.
About 40 years ago, counties with similar demographics and issues banded together regionally in order to better provide services in areas such as mental health, housing, planning, and senior services. This is known as associations of government, or simply AOGs. There are 7 associations of government statewide: the 5-county, Bear River, Southeastern Utah, Wasatch Front Regional Council, Uinta Basin, Six County, and Mountain Lands.
And the purpose was to take these small rural counties and the minimum amount of money that we receive and to be able to help programs to function and to become successful. It seems like everything is looking at more regionalism. If you take $1 and stick it into one community, is that really going to do as much good as if you took and put it into a region or put it into a community that was going to impact a region?
Each year, the group gets together in a different county and takes an on-the-ground tour of the issues affecting that area. Oftentimes, the commissioners realize the challenges they face aren't all that different one county to the next.
Everyone's going through similar type of experiences, and so I think there's just a good opportunity to get together and discuss things and find out what's working in one place and try it in another.
Rural counties are similar in a lot of ways, in how they deal with catastrophic wildfire, bark beetle infestation, livestock, endangered species, and many others. Talking about these issues on a regional scale allows officials to see new solutions, and at the very least understand their counties and constituencies on a more profound level. For the County Seat, I'm Derek Dowsett.
Beyond shared economic concerns and governmental administration concerns, Association of Governments deal with one-on-one programs with people. We'll talk with 3 people who administer those programs from the Association of Governments when we come back on the County Seat.
There is a place where the desert comes alive, where rain breaks forth from solid stone and gardens spring from blistered rock. There is a place with enough color to make a rainbow jealous, where boulders are bigger than buildings and cliffs are higher than clouds. There is a place that will straighten your step, tighten your grip, widen your eyes, and open your jaw. There is a place.
There are a couple great things about the Uinta Basin. One is it's still small, it's community.
That makes you feel like when you go somewhere, you know everybody.
When you know your neighbor knows you, and you can trust each other. People look out for one another.
I grew up in the Uinta Basin, and I think that it's a good place to raise a family.
So we packed up our 3 kids, and here we came to Uinta County, and what a great place it was.
It's not too big, it's not too small.
And it has a lot to offer that you just don't get in the big city anymore.
Planning your next conference or corporate event? The Davis Conference Center offers 70,000 square feet of flexible meeting and exhibit space, plus high-tech audio-visual services that will make your event a success. Whether you're planning a training, meeting, company retreat, wedding, or large convention, let the staff at the Davis Conference Center help you arrange your next event. Located east of I-15 in Layton, call 801-416-8888 or visit davisconferencecenter.com today.
You go through the day-to-day repeating what you did yesterday. Don't you wish you could access that piece of your life that's missing? Find the beauty, serenity, family fun, or anything else that's missing from your life in the Cedar City, Bryan Head area. Gain access to your adventure, whether it's camping, hiking, the arts, festivals, or just a getaway. Visit cedarcityayl.com for details on all the adventures that you can access in scenic southern Utah.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking today about the 6 area counties of government. These are organizations around the state, whether it be a 5-county, 6-county, a front, or region, where counties pool their resources to provide services across a broader area. So our guest today for our discussion, Scott Christensen, who's Director of Aging Services for the 6 County Area of Government, or AOG. We have Travis Kyhl, who's Director of Housing Services for the same organization, 6 County AOG, and Maureen Allred, who's the Director of Community Assistance Programs. What is a Director of Aging Services? Do you keep track of old buildings or what?
No, of course not. We have a number of programs we actually work with. We have the most familiar that everybody's familiar with is the Senior Nutrition Program, the Meals on Wheels program. But besides that, we also have alternatives program, caregiver program, Medicaid waiver program. We also work with health information, and we also have the ombudsman that goes out and helps people in nursing facilities. And then we have a SHIP coordinator who also does the health information to the seniors this time of year, really busy. Open enrollment. We also have a volunteer connection that goes through our area. And then through that, we also are coordinating with the Veterans Transportation, that we help transfer veterans or help veterans get transported up to medical treatment in Salt Lake.
Okay. And so from a housing standpoint, what does a multiple county housing services guy do?
We operate 5 housing programs for low to moderate income families. We help people build homes. We do have rental properties that we manage, that we're the landlord on. And then the big thing we do right now is energy efficiency. You know that's something that we're looking at across the country and trying to save energy. And so we go into people's homes and make them more energy efficient. We do a lot of furnace work, a lot of windows, insulation, air sealing, anything we can do to lower those energy costs and help those people out on their energy bills.
Director of Community Assistance Programs. That's a pretty broad spectrum. What do you do?
Yes, well, primarily our programs try to help people that are facing crisis. We do rent assistance for people that are facing eviction. We do car repair for people that, they've got to have their car to get to work. We do small home repairs. If your toilet's broke, that's a crisis. And we can actually help those that are on fixed incomes do small home repairs to make sure they stay, in a safe environment. We do the HEAP program, which is just started, and it's a very big program. And we have several offices, not just the one here in Richfield.
What is a HEAP program?
The HEAP program, it's a federal program, and what it does is clients come in and they apply, and it's based on income, household size, and a few other factors. And basically what it is they receive money to go towards their utility bills to help offset the costs during the winter months when they're so high.
It almost sounds like some of the things you do I would have almost thought we're in his department, and so
we work very closely together.
I was going to say, do you guys like spar a little bit?
No,
or?
we refer a lot to each other, to all of our programs. We work very closely together.
That's what oftentimes we tell a client when they come in is you know, just come in with your situation, let us know what you need, and then we'll try to find the program that will best help them out, because there's so many programs out there. We operate, you know, 25 different state and federal contracts between the two of us, and so each one's very specific in what they can do, but we can usually help somebody out.
Well, as I've looked at this point, I see that you're providing a body of services that look very similar to services that one might see along the Wasatch Front, but obviously they're in a broader perspective. So when we come back, I'm going to want to address that and talk a little bit of that and find out why this organization is handling that as opposed to the counties directly. We'll be right back with the county seat, talking about area of governments or multiple county organizations. We'll be back with the county seat in just a second.
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
The Bear Lake Valley is a beautiful, rural, historical, and recreational paradise. The changing of the season makes now a great time to come our way to see the warm colors of fall in contrast with the cool blues of Bear Lake. Visit us in the Bear Lake Valley. Come for the ride, stay for the adventure.
There aren't a lot of places in this world where you can feel truly free and wild, where the horizon invites you to set off on adventure. In Tooele County, you'll find just that. Explore the Benson Grist Mill and step back in time. Find yourself on a trek through our canyons. Tooele County. Experience endless horizons.
What's the story of your life? What chapter are you on? Did you happen to get married recently? Perhaps you found your lost puppy at the animal shelter. Or you're taking an art class at the senior center. There's that flu shot that kept you well last season. And don't forget the museums and historical sites your family loves. And all the fun you have at the county swim center. County services from search and rescue to maintaining roads bring tremendous value to each of our lives. We're the Utah Association of Counties, helping you build the story of your life.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking today about Association of Governments. They are organizations around the state, this one being the largest, Six County, where services are basically pooled. And I think that's where I want to pick this up with, because if anybody's watching this on the Wasatch Front, they're going to hear what you're talking about with aging services and senior centers, Meals on Wheels. Well, Salt Lake County runs their own Meals on Wheels program. How come they need a different organization to do Meals on Wheels here?
Well, the biggest challenge here in rural Utah, you have to remember how small we are. We have all of these counties that if each one of those had to do this program by themselves would have to have a managerial to run those programs. We actually, where it's combined, can have one management body, can go in, we can better support our staff, and more money goes back into the program. So that when I have 12 senior centers out there in the Six County area, and each of those centers, well, each one's different and has to be managed different, and each of the counties have better funding opportunities than others. In rural Utah, we're dealing with, our one county has the oldest community in the state of Utah based on age of the individuals. And then we have one of the poorest counties in the state. So we're still making sure that these seniors are receiving the benefits that every other senior has. It's just we have to do a little different. We do have challenges. And even though our area is a benefit, it's also our detriment. because we have to drive all of those miles to provide these services. It makes it a challenge.
How do you fund? Because you're not a taxing entity unto yourselves. If I look at a property tax notice, I don't see anything for the Association of Government. Right. So how's it funded?
As I mentioned earlier, we operate mostly off of state and federal contracts through the AOG, as well as some county dollars. Mm-hmm. And so we sign a contract with the state or with the federal government to provide a service. And so, as Scott mentioned, if each county or each city had to sign that contract, you can imagine the amount of paperwork that would be involved, the amount of overhead and the expense versus us going out and be able to take care of all 6 counties and all the communities at one time.
But as an association, you're not actually a government entity.
We're not. We don't have the ability to tax, as you mentioned. You know, we work for the counties. Our board is made up of county commissioners, and so we work for them.
So far, what I've heard, it's either senior citizens, fixed income, or people that need personal living assistance. Is it broader than that with the Association of Governments?
Well, most of our programs are based on poverty, levels of poverty. And clients do have to qualify for these programs. They do come in, it's an application process, it's looked at. There's programs that are based at 150% of poverty, 125% of poverty, and they range. You also have to look at if it's an immediate crisis. It's an interesting, but it's a factual thing that we do have to look at these individuals as income-based. The federal guidelines demand that we do that.
You know, we're missing one section of the AOG here. We do have an economic development and executive department, and so we do deal with a lot with economic development and business growth here in the communities as well.
Okay, so those things are integrated as well.
Yeah, and that's what's neat about the regional government and the AOG is that we're all a little bit different. You know, as Scott mentioned, based on the needs for each county or each town or each region, we can do things a little bit differently, bring in different programs that maybe aren't needed on the Wasatch Front.
But see, that's precisely where it might get a little bit confusing, because you say Association of Governments is a regional government, but you're not really a government agency. And so it's like, I'm sure people get a little bit confused. It took me a while to grasp it. So what kinds of issues outside of assistance programs does the AOG look at?
You know, we look at everything that our local rural counties want to face or do face, such as grazing, public land issues. You know, I mentioned economic development is obviously huge for our area and our rural communities. And so we do about anything that needs to be done that local communities can't do by themselves. You know, a lot of them just don't have the manpower or the time to go out and to get the funding that they need or to administer these programs, and so we're there to do it for them.
Power and unity.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Most of our programs are required to go out and do what's called a needs assessment. Mm-hmm. So each county, we go out there and we do surveys, we do questions, we talk to the local government officials, we have public forums where people come and they open up and say, this is what's a problem for us, you know, these are things that we need in these areas, and then we try to address this. We go back to our state people and say, this is where we need the funding. Being rural, that's a little bit of a challenge because lots of times we're overlooked because we're rural, and our funding sources are a lot smaller. So we have to be very careful on how we work the funding, so we try to fill in all the gaps.
Well, let's talk about a specific instance for just a brief story, just so people kind of get a scope from each of you on how your services by pooling have improved quality of life for people. I'll let you start, Scott.
Well, I guess you could say you look at our rural areas, and again, our extreme rural areas, we have some of these routes on our Meals on Wheels program are over 60 miles. Now, when you're comparing that to Salt Lake County, where they're dealing with a lot of volunteer deliveries, I can't have a volunteer that'll step forward and drive 60 miles a day to make a delivery. And so by us pulling together, it has allowed us to combine that money and allow us to provide more services. Now, we still have areas that are underserved or unserved, and we've had to work on waivers because we haven't got the money. But our counties have been wonderful. We have our seniors actually donate almost $200,000 towards the meals. So it's not just one aspect. one aspect, you have to have all three to make this work. We do work with the Older Americans Act, and so therefore we can't base it on their income. So any senior over the age of 60 is entitled to participate in my aging programs.
I have a comment there, but I just can't make it because of the age you just said. Anyway, we've got to take a break here on the county seat. We still have some questions to ask and some wrap up to do. We'll be right with you after this commercial break. Stay with us.
Why is it that environmental protection and economic development are often placed at odds with each other? In Duchesne County, they have both. Here, modern industry and resource development go hand in hand with some of the most pristine wilderness in the western United States. A strong economy balanced with a lifestyle of exploration and discovery. But don't take my word for it. Go visit them. Duchesne County. Close enough for business. Far enough, get away.
Kanab. Base camp for your southern Utah adventures. You belong in Kanab.
Let's be honest, you don't know much about Beaver County. Well, let me tell you about it. It's the birthplace of outlaw Butch Cassidy and inventor Philo T. Farnsworth. Some of the best skiing in Utah is at Eagle Point. You've got camping, Canyon Breeze Golf Course, Crusher and the Tushers Beaver Territorial Courthouse, snowmobiling, renewable energy, Pioneer Car Show, Squeaky Cheese, Ghost Towns to explore, best water in the country, Paiute ATV trails, Old Frisco Kilns, horse races, hunting, fishing, and it's a good place to live. Beaver County, mountains of fun. I could tell you more, but why don't you come and see it for yourself?
In a place that is beyond words, there is nothing to be said, except take your time in Bryce Canyon country.
Welcome back to County Seat. We are talking about the Association of Governments, Six County Association of Governments in the central part of the state, and some of the programs they offer. We were drilling into the specifics here a little bit. So, Travis, I want to go back to you and just talk about energy efficiency. That just seems like a different sort of thing for, a community to, or like a government quasi-agency to be involved in. Is this a poverty level or a low-income based program, or is it just a program across the board?
It is. It's built for low-income individuals or households. And I think the AOG is involved because it's a win-win. Energy is a big topic right now. So if we can save energy and save folks money at the same time, it's a win for everybody. And so it's called the Weatherization Program. It is a federal program run through the Department of Energy. All Association of Governments participate, and everyone in the state of Utah is covered under an area. So anybody in Utah can apply. It's not just for rural, if they meet those income guidelines. And so we're very skilled. We have very skilled workers and technicians that go out into a home and provide an energy audit of the home. They look at everything, anything that might be causing that home to lose energy and raising or increasing the energy costs on that home.
Gee, I'd pay for it.
There are fee-for-services out there that people do that. It's a neat program that we can go in and save anywhere from 20 to 30% on somebody's energy costs. And
so if somebody didn't qualify, they could still pay for that same service, or they have to go to a private
there's
contract?
companies out there, yeah. They'd be a private.
So they can't go to you guys.
They can't come to us. We're too busy.
All right. Well, Maureen, let's talk a little bit about from your standpoint, specific in a program so people can kind of understand where your department goes with things.
Well, we have individuals that come in and they might be facing a crisis, or right now where it's so cold, their furnaces are broken. They come in and they have no heat source. So what's really great about our agency is that we work so close together that I can refer them and get that dealt with immediately. Also, I can look at, we have a lot of that are homebound. We have workers that actually will go into homes. If they can't come to us, we go to them. And we look at their situation, what's going on, and sometimes we can see that, you know, there's no furnace, or we've got broken windows, or we can see that someone needs to have meals brought in. So, and we also work with all of the other agencies in the area, so we collaborate a lot with the other service agencies.
So when you talk about these services, like a furnace program, or, you know, somebody's got a broken toilet like you'd mentioned earlier, do you work direct? I mean, do you have your own crews, or do you contract with people? You know, do you have contractors who file with you or become referral company? How does that work?
Well, we have, you know, because we've got so many counties we got to cover. If I've got somebody who's got a broken sewer line in Millard County, I will call several of, you know, the plumbers in that area to see which one could help me at the time. So we work with, you know, just contractors in our area, and we can get there quite quickly. I mean, if somebody comes into me with a health and safety issue, we'll move very, very quickly to try to alleviate that situation.
So you find the contractors of your own volition, or do they come to you and say, hey, I'm available for this kind of work?
Actually, we've had both, but most of the times we contact, and, you know, of course, in the smaller communities, we're limited because we don't have that many contractors or people that can work, especially this time of year when it's cold. They're very, very busy, and I'm very lucky where I can say I've got somebody with a, you know, broken pipe or a broken furnace, and we can get moving on it really quickly. It's just who we can get to do the job.
Okay, last question for any of you. Is your job gratifying?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
How so?
You know, we deal with people. You know, so anytime you're dealing with people, there's stories, there's heartache, there's some sad situations. You know, even here in the state of Utah, you know, you see things that you don't think should be here. And so when someone can come in and they're facing a crisis, we've talked a lot about those. When they don't have heat in their home, they don't have food. You know, we're talking about the basics that people need, and we can help them. It makes you feel good, you know, to be able to take a situation and rectify that and fix that situation.
You know, when a family can't get to work because the car's broke down, the only car that they have, and they're facing losing that job, if we can get that car fixed and get them back to work, we can alleviate that crisis and take that worry off the family. So yes, it's very rewarding.
And where we serve the elderly, we're serving the greatest generation. And so it's a privilege to be able to step in and help some of those that may need that little bit of extra and keep them active and healthy.
Well, thank you all for joining us today on the County Seat. Thank you for watching. We want to tell you to be involved in government, know what's going on, because you can be part of the solution. And we would like to invite you to not only join us for our show, but join us on our mailing list. All you have to do is text SEAT TV, SEAT TV, to 22828. It's all automatic from there, and then you can stay posted on the topics and issues and items that we're covering on the County Seat. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll look for you next week on the County Seat.
When you buy Utah made and grown, you're keeping it here at home.
I'm a Utah's own vegetable grower. I care about the foods I produce.
Because when it comes to quality local foods, I understand the importance of Utah grown and raised.
The jobs that we enjoy are vital because Utah's own supports our communities.
As a consumer, I look for Utah's own products because Utah's own is good for me and it's good for Utah.
Keeping it here at home, Utah's own.